Clarity, clarity, clarity. That's exactly what tonight is about, is clarity. I'm on this theme of clarity. It is so important. It's integral. Tonight is center of light, door. Monty Hall and the sexy model. Everyone is Monty Hall. Everyone hosts their own life, and everyone is the sexy human model. The question I pose is, what are you modeling? Are you leaving behind a legacy for others to follow, to model? Let's Make a Deal. My latest release, bestseller, Homecoming Crossing the Bridge to the Soul, is now available. I just posted the link in this room, I do believe. Let me check. I did not. I'm posting it now. And there we go. If you have not read this bestseller, use that link to go there. And if you have, use that same link to give me a review. Fantastic. Welcome to Center of Light, the door. Center of Light, door. Let's make a deal. Who are you making a deal with? With whom are you making a deal? So tonight is about intuition and guidance. I woke up this morning going, wow, why is this so prevalent in my head, heart? I knew it was, what is that? I knew it was something that I should talk about. So I fashioned the show about Let's Make a Deal. How to discern between who you're speaking with in your skull. And now we're going to be speaking about tonight how to nullify all the nonsense. We're going to delineate, separate, differentiate what is the highest voice. That way it simply becomes a conscious choice to lean into that which is trying to get your attention. Door number one. I love having fun. Door number two, do you? Or door number three, play with me. Let's make a deal. With whom are you making deals? There are voices in your head in the conscious stream. And we're trying to find the guidance, though guidance is in the conscious stream as well as the nonsense. Do you know how to grab hold of the guidance through all the noise? It can be tough. I'm going to simplify that for you. Why? Because I love you. Let's see what's happening in the rooms. Katie Camara says, clarity comes from integrity. Once we decide to become more real, honest, and to entertain enlightenment, self-mastery, as a possibility for our life, ethically, unyielding, and look at her wordplay, unyielding. Ethically unyielding and honest in inspiring trust by saying what we mean, matching our behaviors to our words, and taking responsibility. She gets a love poke right there. So I'm going to help even myself. This is new for me. I woke up this morning joyfully, gleefully, with this beautiful idea that I'm going to learn from as well as any of us. So many tears I cry, so much pain inside. It ain't over, baby, till it's over. It applies to your life as well as the global political arena. Take it how you like. It ain't over until it's over. Don't be caught into the illusion of the mainstream media, because they're going to spin. In fact, they're so good at it. They have CGI to Star Wars technology level. They possibly could have already created how they want things to look with CGI and green screens and so forth. On both sides of the fence. Just be aware. Eat your popcorn, watch the movie, Use your intuition, which tonight is about. Center of light door. Let's make a deal. To whom are you making those deals? One more time. I love it. I love making these banners. They're so fun. To whom are you making a deal? The door is open. Are you homecoming? Are you coming home? You're hosting your life, for sure you are. But are you modeling your life as the chicky poo saying, come get yours, which belongs to you, you won. Daughter or son. The games have begun. Hello, Rena. Let's see what's happening on YouTube. Is there a problem with YouTube? Let's see. Dana Trotter says, hello. Summer Fusion. What's up, DT? All right, y'all. So tonight is, let me see. Carolyn Ronaldo says, I have not watched TV news in months. God bless you, girl. Good for you. So, of course, with my new teacher intact, he's always intact. I'm watching the God knows what how many out of his videos that I can find. When I woke up this morning with this idea of center of light door, door number 1, door number 2, and door number 3, you can only choose one at a time. Let's make a deal. With whom are you making deals? I'm going to help you differentiate between not only the bad, but what you think in your head as a possibility of what you think is good. Maybe it's not so good. It might be good because you're getting what you want. But is it truly good that you get what you want? The Dalai Lama says it can sometimes be a stroke of great luck that you don't get what you want. So what lies behind door number 3? I'm going to help you consciously figure in, not figure out, figure in what and whom with you are making deals. It's going to be easy. I'm asking you now, grab a pinned, grab a pen or pencil, marker, blood, sweat, and tears, whatever you need, and a pad. If you truly want to participate in this lesson, to receive a blessing, to be able to differentiate between what is the truth that lives, the truth is the stream in and of itself. That is what keeps the stream moving, the truth. So the truth is the stream. Good and bad are just people on a raft going down the chute. What do they call that? The log flume at an amusement park. So we're going to spark the truth by understanding what and who is speaking to us at any given moment. Center of light door. Let's make a deal. I love having fun in this way. It just so illumines the joy inside of me. I feel alive hanging out with you beautiful, sexy souls. Katie says priority. It is priority. Okay, so I'm going to take a short song pause. Going to be right back. I'm going to give you what came to me this morning in a packet of light. First, before I do that, I want to acknowledge a dear friend of mine who just left the earth. Please, I'm asking you, please don't say I'm sorry for your loss. I didn't lose anything. You don't have to say anything. If you want to say something, say Godspeed or whatever. You don't have to go. We don't have to go there. A friend of mine, brother of mine, Jared Anderson. I met him many, many years ago doing some music work. And one night, in fact, he heard I can do technical stuff with sound equipment. He contacted me, went to the Rumble Room in Memphis, Tennessee, hooked up their sound system, and then a few weeks later, he showed up at one of my gigs. And that night, after my gig, I had plans on going to Houma, Louisiana to see my family. And he was such a beautiful soul. I said, bro, you want to take a trip out of town? He said, sure. He got in my car that night after the gig, and we went to South Louisiana to see my family. And when we got there, my mother was dying of a stroke. We didn't know this till we got there. He was just there as an anchor. Beautiful soul. Jarrett, I'm going to dedicate my time in this presentation and for all that hear this presentation from now till as long as the internet or anyone has access to this presentation. I'm dedicating it to you, this to you. You are truly a beautiful, soft, powerful soul. I love you. I'm going to be right back when I get to this presentation. I'm going to unpack this light packet that came to me this morning. So why not see the light? But I got two screens here. See the light? No, the one I want is choice, because it comes down to a choice. Most people think they have one of two choices, but you don't. There's always a third component. And I'm going to reveal that voice to you and what it sounds like. It's your choice.
Remember that all things are possible. You must choose to be accountable, responsible, enough to believe, and open your heart to receive.
Welcome back to Center of Light Radio / TV. Everyone, please, if you want to participate fully, I'm asking you to grab a pencil, paper. This is going to be very, very powerful. Probably one of the most powerful in a while in this regard of having everyone have an actual experience of something and to get the aha because of said experience. But it will require you to have, unless you're like a genius, which I don't doubt that you are, you sexy human creature, a pencil and paper. Get a pencil and paper because we're going to choose between, let's make a deal, door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. So get that pencil and paper. Take your time now. I'll wait for a little second. Door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. We're going to identify with whom are you making deals. With whom are you making deals? Go ahead and take that time to get your pencil and paper. Some water, popcorn. Speaking of popcorn, the human show is about to get really interesting. I love being human. I'm good at it. Be human full out. That in and of itself is divine. Hello, Darlene. It's been a while. Darlene says, let me get my stuff out the way. I sang along to the top of my voice. Felt amazing. Right? Darlene has an amazing voice. Boy, can she sing. She's more of a Broadway kind of singer. But let me tell you, this broad has a way of singing. What's up, Marina? Go yay. So tonight is Center of Light door. Let's make a deal. With whom are you making deals? Grab that pen and paper, pencil and paper. I'm gonna give 30 more seconds. Just whatever you need. It's not hard. You can probably remember it. Actually, I'd rather you grab a pencil and paper because I want you to make 3 columns. 3 columns. So when you get your pencil and paper ready, put a line, column 1, a line, so you have 1, 2, 3. So this is going to require you to become naked. You like it already, don't you? You little spiritual pornographic freak you are. Really, it means vulnerability. No one's watching you. No one can see you. You can see me. Everyone can see me, but I can't see you. But you have to become naked, vulnerable with yourself. If you're willing to jump into the fire, to be cool, to live forever, grab that pencil and paper. So now that you have your pencil and paper, I want you to close your eyes. Open your mind. Open your heart. But close your eyes. We are going to time travel, y'all. Did you know, sexy human soul, that you are a time traveler? So we're going to go back to the future. In this present moment, we're going to go back to the future. And in so doing, we're going to heal by going to the past. We're going to become whole in the present moment at last. Into the future, we will move into a greater possibility because we're going to change the vibrational frequency to get out of what we think is civility, which is not sense at all. There's a big difference between morality and ethics. Look it up. So now that you have your pencil, pen, and paper, and you've drawn 2 lines implying 3 columns, close your eyes. Close your eyes softly. Don't slam them shut. Close your eyes softly. Intentful. Be in this experience. I'm going to play a video a little later about coherence from Shunyamurti. It so aligns with this presentation. Close your eyes. Take a few powerful, beautiful breaths how good it feels to be alive. No matter what, you're alive on every level. But in this way, many souls, most souls compared to the few that have had human birth, we are blessed. So with your eyes closed, breathe. Take that breath. Breathe like you want something of grace, like a cloak of God's garment of light to simply drape you. Take that breath. What does it taste like in your mouth? What does God's grace taste like on your tongue? Oh my God, do you taste that deliciousness? What does God's grace taste like in your experience? What does it taste like? Just be with it. So now that you're there, time traveler that you are, become aware of who you are in this moment. Don't judge it. What is the taste in your mouth? What's the temperature on your skin? How do you feel in your feeling barometer about the level of love you have for yourself? How does it feel? Simply just be aware of it. Now launch yourself to your past. And I want you to go back to your earliest memory with your eyes closed in this meditation. The first beautiful conscious recollection you have of being humanified, personified. Glaze over any mishaps, mistakes, illnesses. Just glaze over that. Stay with the I feel good intention. Time travel intention. I remember when I was born, the first thing I remember, my mother bathed me in the kitchen sink, and I thought it was cute, and I was bouncing around. But when I was 10, I got my first bicycle, and my father or mother taught me how to ride. And when I was 16, I went on my first date with the first love of my life, and I really liked that person. And when I was 21, I became legal, and I had my first drink with people I care about, and so forth and so on. Glaze over the nonsense of your life from now to the past. Hear my voice. Here's your freedom. Once, at last, this can be a call. Glaze over the past of your life since you've been born, of all those iconic, sometimes ironic, stepping stones in your life that made you feel, I deserve to be a human being and I'm blessed to be born. Glaze over that. Be in that fully. For now, slide over any of the mishaps. Stay in the joyful, gleeful times of your life from this, at least to this point. Stay with it. All right, I want you to slowly, very important, slowly implies subtlety, which is the most powerful force in the you, meaning you, the universe. Universe means one, verse means song, a verse of a song, one song. It's called the Gita in the Hindi tradition, the Bhagavad Gita, one song. So open your eyes after you went over this beautiful experience, ongoing, infinite, will never end experience of yours. And I want you to name it in that first column. On that pencil and paper graph you drew with the two lines implying my beautiful past, right? So column number 1, let's make a deal. With whom are you making deals? Tonight is Center of Light door. It's about guidance and intuition and the nonsense in between. And I'm going to put you right on. I'm going to put a freaking delicious pizza with extra cheese right in front of your intuitive mouth. So I want you to give that first column a name. I really want to lean into a person's name. John, Steve, Jill, Jane, whatever word you choose. But I actually really want to lean into a person's name. The joy that you've reflected in your life that you've had to this moment, give it a name. The first one that comes to you. Don't think about, what I'm going to call this. What is the name possibly of a person throughout your past up until now that is the embodiment, the umbrella, the shelter, the title of the book of your life, that everything else as a subtitle falls under? What is that name? You don't have to share it with me. You just write it in that column. You can call it, someone in my life named John was so beautiful to me. He embodies all of these principles. Call it John or Jill, so forth and so on. Column number 1. Fun, isn't it? Column number 2. Hello, Kelly Curtis. Everyone, close your eyes again. Simply close your eyes. Allow, invite, realize you deserve an experience of your soul. Dear Lord, I'm putting gravy on your biscuit. You deserve an experience of your soul. Close your eyes. Take some intentful breaths to connect to everything that could possibly mean anything at all. That kind of breath. What is the taste? Again, what is the taste on your mouth? Are you willing to taste God's grace or not? So it's that willingness that opens up the gate and lays it simply on your plate. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Don't presume anything. Just close your eyes and take a deep breath. The breath of life and the exhale of death. Take that breath. Now I want you to go back to the beginning, which is it really, at least of this life. What is your first memory of something that happened that brought you pain? I'm going to say, possibly for you, it's different from some, but the many of all was we first received a panking on our hiney. And our first impression is, I came to this place that immediately inflicted pain on me. I don't want to be here right now. I want to go back home. But we get spanked on our hiney side to bring us to a level of breath, which is life. So the thoughts that move through our conscious stream, the goods and the bads, are they really goods and bads at all? Door number 1, door number 2, door number 3, center of light door. Let's make a deal. With whom are you making deals? So close your eyes if you haven't already, and if you are, keep them closed. Breathe like you want something beyond you've ever known. What is your first memory? In a negative, traumatic kind of way. Don't own it in the regard that it pulls you into the nonsense. Own it that you, as the observer, have just simply chosen. Just look at it. So now we move to the age of 10. And at the age of 10, in your traumatic life till now, when your parents gave you that bike, in the first column, you fell off the bike and you broke your collarbone, which I did. And it hurt like a son of a bitch. And in that pain, it brought you to a place of awareness. You remember what it was like to fall off that bike or that trike? It wasn't so cool, was it? It hurt. It's traumatic. It makes you scared to get back up on the bike again. But you did. and age 16 comes along, and you met that first boyfriend or girlfriend that we talked about in column 1, and they said, I don't want to see you anymore. And it happened just before homecoming, the dance that they have at school called Homecoming. My new book is called Homecoming, Crossing the Bridge to the Soul. But 2 days before homecoming, your first love said, I don't want to see you anymore. And they decided to go with your best friend at 16 years old. So here comes the age of 20 or 21 in the negative column. And you decide to go hang out with your friends so you can drink away because you're now legal, which was in the first column. This pain. So forth and so on. Review your life till now. And all those painful moments without judgment. Simply glaze over them. And in column 2, give it a name. A person's name or an event name. I say use a person. But don't blame the person that you gave the praise to in column 1 or the blame to in column 2. So the question I pose so far, now that you come up with your 2 columns of names and ideas under column 1 and column 2, why did you choose said name in column 1 and column 2? That's something else that you can explore on your own. You don't have to like, oh my God, I'm being caught in a trap. You are being caught in a trap, but not one that's going to bind you, one that's actually going to free you. And I'm saying, use these names to say that John Doe did this to me in my life as to why I'm stuck in column 2. And Jill Doe did this to me in column 1 as to why I'm using the word Jill. I was in a program when I was 15 years old. I had a sister who was not in a good way, in a healthy way. We went to a program called Silver Mind Control. And it taught us how to compartmentalize our nonsense so we can find that which is sense. That's door number 3. Door number 1, column number 1. You glazed over your life, all this positivity, beautiful ideas. That's floating in the conscious stream. Door number 2. We review our life again of all the things that were traumatic. And that's flowing in the conscious stream. How do you find intuition and guidance in all that bullshit? I get it. I feel you. It can be tough. Do you have the gruff? Are you buff? Are you ready to understand how it works? It's not hard. The word work implies an effort, a grind, 9 to 5. That is not how I'm saying you're going to find and or thrive, not just survive. You have to want something. That something is not this hunkering down in this aggressive way, but subtly be passionate about being in the fire of understanding the mathematics of God, the mathematics of light, the mathematics and the truth and the essence of who you are. You think you're living in a world of duality? You are. If that's what you think, you are. If you think you're this dual being, you are bipolar split. No wonder sometimes we have bipolarismness. We shoved hither and thither, to and fro, there and here. My dear, that is not being clear. That is not the clarity of God. The clarity of God is beyond that which is even and or odd. It's the third door. You're the one hosting your life. You are the one that's the sexy, beautiful human model that you are modeling for others who follow your path. So you've named column 1, good person. You've named column 2, bad person. Now take it to another level, which is, why did I name good person, column 1, whoever that person is I named? You will find that your mind simply chose it because the truth of it is Jill Doe, John Doe, reminds me exactly the overlook of my life to this present moment. They embody all those qualities. Likewise with column number 2. When I was in Silver Mind Control, I was taught to go into an elevator, right? an elevator on the top floor. If you're not familiar with what silver mind control is, I've remote viewed when I was 15 or 16 years old 3 times without fault. Exactly people's conditions down to the freaking cellular level. I have it documented. Doesn't make me special. I'm using this as a way to dress up and support this presentation about guidance, intuition, and how to find door number 3 among all 3 doors. This is yours for the taking. So I'm in this elevator, the top floor. This was the lesson that was taught to me by the teachers of Silver Mind Control. So I get in this elevator and press the down button. I'm a sentient, illumined, Godhead, child of God being, living here in my soul essence. But I'm going to go down. I'm going to press the down button in the elevator to Earth. This is all mentally constructed. I was a kid. I didn't have all this constructs in the way, destructing my path. I've learned how to deconstruct all the wrath, and that's what I'm offering. So I went down to Earth in my elevator, and when we got there, the guide said, "What are the first male and female icons you see?" Without hesitation. And mine was, the male was Humpty Dumpty, for whatever reasons, and the female was Dale Evans, 1940s, 50s, black and white days, female actress on the Roy Rogers series. In fact, it was his wife. She's wholesome, beautiful, old world, all these beautiful qualities. So likewise, when you go over your future, look at the name you've given it. When you go over your past, look at the name you've given it and ask yourself, why did I choose these 2 names? And then when you're done with that nonsense, release it all. So what is going to happen for you from this day forth? And there's nothing you can do about it. Because that I'm saying this is going to support you into why it will never leave you. I'm pressing. I'm throwing you off the cliff. I'm planting a seed, not gently, I am, but I'm pushing. So as you go into these life experiences, what we call pro and con, with these names, when you go throughout your day, la 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 la, the alarm clock goes off, I gotta go to work, or whatever it is you do, versus getting lost in the sea of nonsense. I hope that you see the sense of being in the divine sea. So what you do is when you go throughout your day, is you have to become self-aware. I just want to be write it in your hand with a magic marker that'll last a week. And when it fades, you write it again. Whatever it takes, put notes all around your house, become aware in this moment. What voice are you listening to? Are you listening to John or Jill Doe? You don't have to squint or effort. What is running through my conscious stream right now? And it'll say, it's me. It will announce itself. The pros and the cons. Because the pros and the cons both want to be acknowledged and recognized and or seen. So there's no effort involved. Just stop. As door number 3, I'll get to that shortly. Who's speaking? And John Doe say, it's me, it's me, it's me, pick me, ooh, 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 pick me. And then you know how you want to shift. Wow. Shift. So you've already stepped up another level because you've become cognizant, aware of the moment of what is moving through your stream. Most people will say, if I gave them a choice, that what exists in the stream is this one or that one. We're not going to say this one is positive and this one is negative or vice versa. Let's just use this or that one because it simply is just neutral. and who you are in the neutrality, the centeredness of yourself that makes the choice and labels said thing John or Jill, column 1 or column 2. Well, let's use the word joy. Let's use the word good and bad. Most people say, well, I just want the good. You are worth beyond what you are claiming to be yours, titled as good. That's door number 1 or door number 2. We left out door number 3. It doesn't mean that number 3 is the best door. It just means that you have a third option. Maybe it's all 3 doors that creates the 4th option. And understanding that is the 5th, and getting through the difficulty and the quandary of using this as mechanics is the 6th. And then as the Christ, you become the 7, which lays number 8 on its side, which is infinity, which brings us to 9, which is divinity. Oh my God, the wholeness that is moving through me right now. Wow! Center of light, door. The door is open. It belongs to you. Door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. Maybe it's not any of those. Do you see? Close your eyes. Again, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Open your mind. Open your heart. Glance over door number 1. All the good times in your life. The time you were bathed in the kitchen sink. 10 years old, you got a bike. 16 years old, you went on your first date, or you had your first boyfriend or girlfriend. 21 years old, you were old enough to drink and party with your friends. Give that a name. Or are you beyond the name now? So just at least glance or glaze over that. Door number 2. Keep your eyes closed. Think about the negativity in your life. Being spanked on your hiney to breathe, to 10 years old, to falling off that bike, 16 to have your boyfriend or girlfriend break up with you, to 21 to drown your sorrows with your friends. Now let's look at door number 3. Before you enter, hang on, whoa, cowboy. Before you enter door number 3, you don't want to be so gung-ho. You don't. Hang on, stay in that energy for a moment. Okay, stay in the lobby. You've glanced over door number 1, you're positive. Door number 2, you're negative. But stay in the lobby, stay in limbo. Between door number 2 and door number 1 to the 3rd door. Stay in limbo. Ask yourself, while your eyes are closed, what am I waiting for? Keith, can you hurry up so I can get there? No, I'm not going to hurry up. Because you're already there. That's the point. You're already there. You're not trying to get anywhere. Door number 3 is the fact, the truth, the reality, the dimension of what you are worth and what you are as the conscious stream already there. So what exists in the conscious stream that moves through your mind is not the right choice at all. The right call is the heart, and the heart will penetrate and integrate into the mind to say, what is true guidance? So in the labeling of column 1 and column 2 as John or Jill Doe, positive and negative, ask yourself throughout your day, who is talking to me? To whom am I making deals? And they will be so glad to step and say, me. You labeled me as this experience in my life from my present moment to my past. And so I'm saying, please recognize me. And you will know who's speaking to you in a given moment. And with a simple awareness shift, using your free will, your will to simply go, I've never recognized this person named John or Jill as always the one bantering me and distracting me. And so now I know it's John. I've categorized it, I've labeled it, and I put it in a file to say, now I know what you look and sound like. I have no interest in you anymore. I'm breaking up with you. We're 16 years old. Door number 3 is not a door at all. You are the door. It's not a door you enter. It's a door you open. Door number 3. And believe it or not, after all this work I put you through, door number 1 and door number 2 simply does not exist. Are you with me? We went from all of this work, figuring, diggering in, to bring us to a place which is here, to a space which is everywhere. It's all noise. It's all noise. There's nothing else. With whom are you making deals? I love you beyond measure.
Trust that I will guide you in whatever you do. Just remember to breathe and do your very best to live in love, give in love, be in love, and love you shall receive.
Welcome to Center of Light Door. Tonight we were talking about, I'm going to go back to the screen to make a point. Center of Light Door. Let's make a deal. Center of Light Door. With whom are you making deals? In your knucklehead. I have a knucklehead. We also have a beautiful heart, explosive heart. There's lots of stuff moving in the stream. So we want to grab onto the stream. Or the stuff moving in the stream. Good, column number 1. Bad, column number 2. And we think that between all this nonsense, that's what we are. But in that decision in and of itself is the nonsense. Because we're not the stuff in the stream that we are selecting. We are the moving stream infinitely, consciously, hopefully, for infinity. That's the truth. So we went through the entire presentation in a meditation format. Door number 1, column number 1, pencil and paper. I'm going to go write all this stuff down because doing the work is required, which is the writing it all down and processing and going back. Sexy human time traveler that you are. You glazed over your beautiful past, skipped over all the bad stuff, column number 1, and you gave it a name. You gazed over your past to your present moment in a negative way, and you gave it a name. That's so-and-so did this to me, and you gave it a name. So we looked at door number 1 and door number 2, and door number 3 is, there is no door at all. Or, equally, it can be that door number 3 includes them all. Either way, it's the same path. Wanting everything will get you there, to God. Wanting nothing will get you to God. It's the same path. It's not the even, and it's not the odd. You must choose to be prodded and sodded. Put sod down. Fertilized to grow. To be prodded. To be nudged, as I am doing. I am now going to play a presentation that's going to last about 20 minutes from Shunyamurti. I love synchronicity and alignments. It happened this morning when I woke up and had this entire packet of light. And then someone posted on the stream, Shunyamurti was like, oh my God, is this such a delight? It's exactly what needs to happen. He's going to help us differentiate between not only the bad, but the good. The good is not as good as you think it is. There's something else that lies beyond what we think good is. In that way, and in that regard, good is not good at all. Perspective. Shunyamurti, upgrading human consciousness. Understand with whom you have been making deals.
People are living in a world they no longer understand, that no longer has the constants that people used to depend upon, that are now revealed as variables. And we live in a dancing landscape of such indeterminacy and instant change that no one can depend upon any consistency or continuity of relationship or even of identity, because that depends on what is being mirrored back to us from an other that is now an inconsistent and dependent other. So the need, therefore, by an ego of tremendous defense mechanisms to ward off the dangers that are projected externally, that are actually arising from within, become exponentially increased without the capacity to understand what is happening. The level of self-understanding is not part of the cultural education that people receive. They have to come to a place like this to even talk about these things. And who wants to come to a place like this? You see, very few people, because they don't want to hear things like this. You know, these things are unpleasant. And the ego wants to keep things as pleasant as possible for as long as possible and not deal with the unbearable pain that everyone is carrying, including their own lostness and cluelessness as to who they really are underneath this identification with the other that they're trying to hold on to, even though it is producing the repetitions of a traumatic childhood over and over again in all of the relationships that people get into in adulthood that simply imitate the same kind of trajectory that leads to defeat and miscommunication and an inability to remain within the flow of love. And so we arrive at a world with a shortage of love. And because love is the only thing that makes worth living, people have lost the desire to stay alive. And even though that may be unconscious in most people, but depression and anxiety and the other pathogenic disturbances of the personality have now contaminated nearly everyone, to the point where, at least subconsciously, they are giving in to the death drive. They want out. And whether they take their out through blacking out by over drinking alcohol or drugs or some other way, or do it through violence, or do it through some other exit that creates social harm and more disharmony, the snowball is growing as the collapse of social and intellectual coherence and the lack of love to bind us together in a healthy way reaches terminal levels of lethality as a society. And this, of course, is globalized now and presents us with a world that can see itself in its own end times, even though it would try to deny that, and has no answer, no vision to how we get past this black hole that we face. And the various means that politicians offer are lies and deceptions, or they're based on warfare, and they're based on the attempt to dominate the other that has been paranoidally projected. But they do not offer a connection to the sources of love or of life. They offer only more collective death drive intensity to attempt to make the other die in one's place, but not to celebrate life and not to bring about a harmony where all can live together in a loving way. There has to be a scapegoat, a demonized other that is then destroyed. And there is no way out given the current emotional situation of the ego in its own sense of its having been destroyed, its own sense of being powerless, castrated, impotent, unable to flow, unable to live without negative voices attacking it when it wants to be creative and loving and to generate its creative intelligence into new ways of blossoming as offerings of art and of music, of dance, of joy into the world. So we have a more and more joyless world that then gives birth to death rock and heavy metal and other ways of trying to express the agony of the ego in its death throes. And so anyway, that's the issue. And as a wisdom school, our job is to diagnose and to treat the issues of consciousness. Diagnosis alone is, of course, depressing. But if there is a treatment, then it is possible to be of some value other than just messengers of doom. So that's what I would like to emphasize tonight, is that there is actually an effective treatment. And the principles of that treatment have been given to us in contemporary science. If we will take in the insights of quantum physics, for example, in the recognition that that which makes up reality is not particles or even waves, but fields. If we will study quantum field theory, we will recognize that consciousness also appears in fields. We are right now in a field of consciousness. This field is a subfield of ever larger fields, and there is a planetary field of consciousness. And there are fields that pervade this field, but that are not apparent because they operate at different wavelengths, different vibrational frequencies that the sensory-based ego mind cannot perceive. Psychics can sometimes perceive entities that are incorporeal or disembodied from the customary perspective, and other forces and energies can be perceived. Love can sometimes be perceived. It's a very powerful, perhaps the most powerful energy. And the inner light that is emanated by the soul can sometimes be perceived. But there are all of these levels of fields that we have lost touch with, and the telepathic ability that quantum physics says that we all have, in the same way that particles can be interconnected, and no matter how far they are separated in space or time, when one has a shift, the other will have the identical shift. They will communicate without limitations of the speed of light or any other. It's instantaneous. And consciousness is connected in the same way. If we would recognize that we are not simply collapsed wave functions, standing waves or particles of consciousness, as the ego would identify itself, and identify it with the brain and with neurons and with an organism, but recognize that our consciousness extends into and participates in and as a field, and ultimately as the field of all possible fields, and that there is no limit, there are no barriers, no fences, no schisms within consciousness, that our consciousness in principle can extend forever and connect with anyone and everyone, because ultimately the field, the unified field that contains the entire cosmic consciousness, is here, and we are part of that. And so therefore the capacity, at least in potentia, to achieve cosmic consciousness and a reunification and a recoherence of our world to overcome the schisms and the paranoia and the glitches, and even that which is appearing in nature in the form of volcanoes and earthquakes and all of the other various shifts of climate and of the order of nature, the extinction, the massive die-offs, all of the things that are being caused by human malpractice and activity of ravishing the physical world can all be overcome in ways that we do not yet understand in terms of what are the potencies of natural law, which are also not constants but variables, and that from higher frequencies of consciousness things can change in different ways than they seem to be able to change from within the frame of reference and vibrational frequency of ego consciousness. If we would learn from quantum physics all of these potentials and train ourselves to apply them in our own inner practice of connection to these larger and deeper levels of consciousness, and recognize that the materialist paradigm was wrong. It has been falsified. Even within the framework of science itself, Darwinism has been falsified, materialism has been falsified. But our educational system isn't teaching us that the fundamental stuff of reality is consciousness, not matter, that matter is derivative, and that matter and its wave function origins within the unitive field are always translatable. The wave and the particle shift instantaneously. So it doesn't require a lot of time. The whole evolutionary paradigm that required millions and billions of years for these random mutations to happen, all of that is a fantasy, a myth that we have finally overcome through science, but the news hasn't reached the larger population because there is still a political will to hold on to social Darwinism, etc. So the will to keep a dumbed down populace unaware of what science is teaching us is producing the inability of society to respond intelligently to the various challenges that we face, and our own internal resistances as egos that imitate the big other of society also do not then have the willpower to go against the herd and discover who we are, if who we are is threatening to the family system or the social system. And of course, all spiritual leadership, all innovative, creative insight has always been persecuted, crucified, burned at the stake. We saw this in the Italian Renaissance, where they burned Giordano Bruno. We're reading a book by Marguerite Porete. She's probably the greatest intellect of the Middle Ages. And her book was banished and she was burned at the stake. And so all of those leaders who offer visions that go against what the elite powers and institutions would be able to control and appropriate will be terminated with extreme prejudice or marginalized and ridiculed and not taken seriously by the main culture. So we understand that this is what is happening at the cognitive level, and the way that society is deforming and becoming more and more obsessed with its own petty concerns with identity politics, etc., which is creating more schisms. But at the quantum level, underneath this apparent level of what's going on, the real power to bring about transformation on the planet still exists untouched. But a small group of beings who were able to reach a high enough level of vibrational frequency could reach through all of those ego defenses and telepathically touch in with a much more coherent signal and dissipate the noise that is now creating a system of incoherence within every ego mind, and produce a capacity for a reunification of consciousness, which is what the religions have all predicted or prophesied as will happen in the end times of whatever apocalyptic vision was given. And they are all pretty much congruent with each other, whether it's Islamic or Judaic or Christian or Buddhist or Hindu. They all have the same message because they were all inspired by teleological forces that understood the trajectory of history. So we have access to a tremendous amount of information, not only from quantum physics, but from complexity theory, chaos theory, a number of postmodern disciplines that have given us the ability to respond with a much greater repertoire of conscious capacity to deal with change and with indeterminacy. But we cannot activate that understanding within so long as we are identified with an ego that is rigid and limited in its repertoire of responses and reacts to paranoid impulses from within rather than to the rational capacity to respond to truth and to love. So if we can overcome that malady of the soul and begin to connect again to the source of consciousness, which remains untouched and uncontaminated by these glitches that are appearing at the surface level of reality, we can bring in that depth dimension to heal our world, to heal our individual consciousness that is suffering from its traumas that it can't get beyond because it can't let go of its imaginary identifications, can heal the social system that is based on a social imaginary, can even heal those symbolic conflicts that seem to be a clash of civilizations that isn't really, because there is really only one humanity, one culture, one religion when we get to the nature of the truth of our being. And so all of these disharmonies can be overcome. And since nature, qua geophysics, responds as well to consciousness, because all of it is consciousness, we have the ability of returning our planet to its pristine, original, natural state and bring peace and harmony back to the world and eliminate the illnesses, because all illnesses are psychosomatic. They are manifestations and representations of glitches in consciousness and self-hatred that turns into attacks on our own body and on the body politic, etc. All of the illnesses and the sufferings can be eliminated and overcome actually very easily. But that ease comes only after one has transcended the ego. So long as one is still struggling with the ego, it seems impossible. And it is impossible within the frame of reference of the ego, because the ego cannot imagine being anything else but what it imagines it is. It has no power to look at itself from outside. It has no power to understand that within it which cannot be represented either in images or in language. And consciousness cannot be represented. It extends beyond and is not apparent, is not objective, is not a thing that is describable within subject-object mentation that language embeds us in. And therefore, it's only through silencing the ego mind and entering into the depth dimension of our real self that we can then bring in a new way of thinking, a new way of acting, and a new power that comes from that source that has been cut off from access to our operating system, and enable us then to upgrade the collective as well as the individual system to reflect more accurately the latent powers of our brain, of our capacity for relating to each other at levels of recognition of the self in all of its creative intelligence and its powers of love and of joy, and to reactivate that on a collective level. It doesn't take a great number of people, because the reality that we are in is not quantitative, it's qualitative. But it does take an intensity of power that can only come from the absolute purification of consciousness, the elimination of the interference patterns produced by the ego. And if that is attained by a sufficient critical mass or critical number of nodes of consciousness that can then disseminate and create a grid of luminous, loveful awareness, we can bring about a reconnection at levels that will be able to function with efficacy to shift the collectivity of consciousness toward that source of goodness, of love and law, that will be able to overcome the criminality and paranoid hatreds and projections of the current level of consciousness that is destroying us. But to be able to defeat this Frankenstein that is of our own making, we must overcome our own addiction to enjoying the fruits of that Frankensteinian technology, and the egoic apparent freedom that it has given us by surrendering to the higher law that will take away the freedom to act out and give us instead the freedom to love and to survive and to thrive as manifestations of the one God consciousness from which we all derive our existence.
Welcome back to Center of Light. Good night. I love you. Tonight is Center of Light door. If you're arriving here now while this video is live, please go back. Do the work. If you want something greater than what you've always known. But for those in the future, pun intended, you're going to watch from the beginning and everything will be on point. So, Shunyamurti, recently in this presentation, this video with him, he said, when we can heal the malady of the soul, we can then bring in the dimension to heal the world. When we heal the malady of the soul, we can then bring the dimension of the world to heal itself. There's nothing else. This is where we are. So door number one, your positive life from your birth this time around to now, and the negative life you had from the beginning of your birth to now. Door number one and door number two. And you gave them a label. Fantastic. Now you understand who's talking to you in your consciousness. But the stream is door number three. The stream is either all of them or none of them. But the stream is the truth. Are you conscious of the stream that's moving through your life? Simply becomes the question. What do you want? Consciousness, or just to go down the stream unconscious and become a salmon that only tries to effort always uphill, only to be eaten by a bear? Don't live your life in despair. Become a conscious, become illumined, become happy for no reason at all. Peace, love, and light. Your love beyond measure.